I've been practicing her name for the last 5 minutes. This is Monica. That's the easy part. Kunzekweguta. Kunzekweguta.
Wow, you got it.
Kunzekweguta. Hi, Monica.
Hello. How are you, Dominic?
How are you today?
I am very well, thank you.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I will first want to say congratulations for accepting or congratulations for being nominated. Thank you for accepting the nomination for Person Behind the Passion. That's what this show is about. And also big thank you. Oh gosh, let's see. I'm trying to remember who's the one who nominated you. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my. Who?
Angela.
Angela. Oh my God, how
Yes.
could I forget? There, I get so many of these sometimes. It's such a thrill to do this, and I forget who's doing who and everybody, and it gets kind of confusing. But anyway, thank you to Angela for nominating you.
Thank you. I feel humbled. When you're doing something or you're working with people and they actually recognize that you have impacted their lives and they acknowledge it and give you that feedback, it's such a pleasure, and it's humbling as well.
I totally agree. You're right. I had someone several months ago nominate me, and I was just like, me? And I did have this like, oh yeah, I forgot about myself, right? So it's very humbling. So anyway, so thank you for being here. Thank you, Angela. This show is called Person Behind the Passion. My name's Dominic, and we are here in the Self Achievement Network. I'm the founder and the host. Okay, and just very briefly, we're a Facebook group. You can call it a networking group if you want. We're a group. I tell people all the time, very simple. It's an opportunity for people to discover their passion, to share about their passion, or to evolve their passion. So that's how it's set up. I used to travel around and do a program called the Achievement Seminar. Then I had a back injury and I wasn't able to do it. So I took my course and put it online. So now it's a download in a group called Life Plan. And I changed the name from the Achievement Seminar to Life Plan. So then people can do that. So I've got a subgroup, a sub-hub, if you will, called Life Plan. And then there are many other subgroups around having to do with parenting and marketing and leadership, and there's like 18 different subgroups. So people can then go in those groups with like-minded people and evolve their passion, talk about what they do, create content, do lives, whatever they want to do. This particular program gives people the opportunity to share about their passion, and that's what Monica is going to do with us today. And her passion is about helping people tell their story, but not just to tell their story, but to tell it to heal. So I would like to know, let me say, first of all, I'm in Chicago. You are up in the great Northwest in Alberta, Canada. Is it snowing there yet?
It has snowed a couple of days, but today it's not. It's all melted. And we're enjoying whatever is out there whilst it lasts.
Yeah. Soon it'll be snowing a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So you became passionate about supporting people to tell their story. Tell us about what does that mean? Give us an overall picture of what you're doing.
An overall picture. So I'll probably start from my journey from when I was in Zimbabwe.
Okay. So back to Zimbabwe. I didn't know anything about that.
Born in Zimbabwe. I lived in Zimbabwe. My parents divorced when I was 3, so I stayed with my dad. And my mom went to live in the UK. I grew up, went to school, and during that time, my dad joined a church. This church has got very strict rules, and it did not really, during those days, it didn't promote the girl child going to school. after primary school, that was it. The girl needed to just wait and probably get married and start a family. That's not something that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I managed to run away from home and went to my maternal side and continued to go to school. And when I finished university, I went to the UK. When I got there, so there are things that we don't realize that they are within us, they are part of us. I went to work I always knew that I want to work with people to help them improve their lives. So I went to work in mental health. And I worked in mental health and other health sectors for about 21 years. I worked with a certain group where I supported them for 10 years. And so when I started working with them, they couldn't do much for themselves, but I helped them learn life skills to a point where they were independent enough to go and live by themselves.
Wow.
With medium support instead of 24-hour support.
Mm-hmm.
But there were those who were not able to move forward. So eventually my job became the same. I couldn't see any improvement in them because they had reached their ceiling. So I could not see any improvement. I started feeling frustrated now. I wanted more. I wanted to see more. I was feeling bored because everything was now so routine. Then I looked for something else to do, and I found life coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I trained in life coaching. I did that online. And so whilst we were doing that, my mom retired. And she got frustrated by not doing anything because she used to work 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we wouldn't see her for maybe 3-4 days because she would just finish one job and go to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine someone working so many hours and then the job ends and she's sitting at home, and she was finding that depressing. So she decided to start writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that when she was writing, she started to feel better and feel good. Then I thought, wait a minute. If I write and tell my story, my life will change. Because I felt that there was something I was carrying. The running away that I did affected me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, when my mom went to the UK, I stayed with my dad from age 3.
Wow.
And so to disrupt that relationship and bond that I had with my dad, I felt as though I betrayed him. Even though I had also felt that he was betraying me by telling me not to go to school any further. So it was a relationship that went bad.
Mm-hmm.
It had some bile in it. Bile is bitter. So
Yes.
it had bile in it. It needed cleaning up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I was doing my life coaching, I met a lady who did an anthology. And she invited me to share a story. And I thought, you know what? I'll share that one about running away from home. Little did I know that through sharing that, I would get the healing that I needed. And after that, I was determined to help others achieve their healing too.
Mm-hmm.
So I now invite people to share their true life stories in order to heal. Maybe I'll do fiction one day, but I focus on working with true life stories,
Wow.
especially the ones that are keeping people stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you're doing this now. You mentioned just a little while ago a podcast. Is this similar to this format here also? Right?
It is similar to this format, but so now I've compiled 4 books. I'm working on my 5th one. And
Wow.
I have what you call, so I have many authors, and many stories that we can now share on a platform like this, as well as podcasts, so that those who do not want to, who find it difficult to read, or who are too busy, they can listen to the podcast.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And that's similar to what I do here. I mean, after the session is over, recorded live, I download the audio and then upload it um,
Mm-hmm.
as the podcast for people to listen to. And yeah, wow, how amazing! That's whew. So you ran away from home, and tell me, what was your age then?
I was about 16, going 17. So what people for this church used to do then, this is like in the 90s.
Hmm.
If a girl was a certain age, they would expect her to get married. And if she was one who was stubborn, they would kidnap you. And so once you're kidnapped, you have to stay with the man, whoever has taken you, despite of the age, regardless of whether he was 20, 30, 50, 60, or whatever. But if he has kidnapped you, he gets to keep you.
Mm.
And I thought, well, I'll be damned. This is not going to happen to me.
Mm.
So earlier, before running away, I had encountered a situation where I had to disguise myself to avoid getting kidnapped. And the way I did it is, so they used to have like conferences out in the like a camping site,
Hmm.
and thousands of people would attend, but it was also like a hunting ground. And I knew somebody had expressed interest in the afternoon, and I had said no. But I also, knowing how powerful this man was, he had 11 wives. I would have been the 12th. Knowing how powerful this man was, I thought, you know what, girl, you need to find a way or you're getting kidnapped tonight.
Hmm.
So in the evening, I went into our camping tent. I picked up my half brother, who was like 6 months old then. I put him on my back. I covered myself in a white garment, which went all the way down. And I wrapped my head and covered myself. You know how the Muslims dress up,
Hmm.
just leaving my eyes. And so I wanted to blend in with young mothers. So that way they can't see my dress, they can't see my face. I'm carrying a baby. I'm just like any other young mother.
Hmm.
And that was how I managed to disguise myself. And that time I was like 15. That's how I managed to disguise myself. So when the opportunity to go back to another conference came up, I thought this time I might not escape. So that was how I ran away.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wow. I'm sitting here, I feel nervous just listening to this. Oh, this is not a movie.
It's not a movie, but maybe it might be a movie one day.
No kidding. I mean, these are the stories that we only hear on some of these programs on TV. And then
Yes.
yeah, and this is real life. Wow, and that was at 16. Oh my gosh. Wow. Woo. Okay. That's intense, Monica.
So Dominic, just remember, I'm here. It didn't happen, so we are good.
Right. But still, I mean, are there still, young women that are still vulnerable like that?
So I don't know whether there is still kidnapping as such, but there's still young women who are still getting married very young.
Yeah.
And we often hear horrible stories where this person has got nothing to start with, and he comes and takes your daughter. And because there's so much poverty to start with, he can't look after this person that he has taken as wife.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of the opinion that something really needs to be done to punish those men who take somebody that they're not able to look after.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not able to feed them, they're children, which means they can't look after themselves. Somebody is 15, 16, they can't look after themselves. They've got nothing. And then if you take them when you have got nothing, what happens then? It means that they're going to go hungry and maybe experience the level of poverty that they have never experienced in their whole life before.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what makes me sad, and it makes me angry too.
Yeah. Yeah, I makes a lot of people angry, and it's very sad. I think that I was hearing someone, I can't remember, was like a month ago, and they were talking something similar, but it was that the culture allows for this um, to happen, and that the people in this case it was a
Mm,
man, and I know that it happens to women too, but they think that it's okay because it's accepted, right?
yeah.
So until there's change from that whole cultural mindset, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a gigantic mountain.
So it's like when people are in a community, and that community has got certain rules, certain norms, and certain aspects of it that everybody agrees with,
Hmm.
and the values that they have. So it's so important that they are seen to be part of the community. And if you go against it, you're punishable by being asked to stop being part of this community.
Hmm.
And nobody wants to lose their connection, because obviously these are the people they know.
Yes.
So even when things are going wrong, nobody is brave enough to say, you know what, guys, we need to sit down and look at these things, because they don't want to be called a rebel. They're not as rebellious as me. I was rebellious. I did what was unheard of,
Hmm.
considering that I was coming from a patriarchal society. You listen to men, you listen to your father, you obey. You never say anything against what they say.
Hmm.
But I did not listen. I ran away. And I would imagine that my family kind of felt disgraced by what I did.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's called courage, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Courage, real life courage.
Real life courage. So
Hmm.
I think this is why when even when I'm older, if I find myself in a situation where I am not happy and I feel I'm being taken advantage of, I just go back to that situation and say, hey, when I was 16, I couldn't accept something like this.
Hmm.
So why should I accept it at this age? That young girl tells me that, no, you can't. Let's go.
Hmm. Wow. Good for you. So you are a hero of
There
heroes.
we go.
Wow. Incredible. That is absolutely amazing. And it's so like, okay, so we live in the West here, and we complain that people are, cutting us off on the highway, and here you are escaping from, this cultural, yeah, unimaginable situation. Whew.
Yeah. So there's a
Oh,
lot that people here complain about, which are not anything that somebody should complain about, because it's not a challenge at all.
Yeah.
To hear someone complaining that, oh, my charger is not working, and they're throwing everything down, they're screaming at the kids because the phone charger is not working. Come on. There are other issues where it's a matter of life and death,
Mm.
or if it's not life and death, it's something that could completely alter that person's life. So,
Mm.
for example, if I had gotten married, I would have married a man who had 12 wives. 11. I would have been the 12th one. And from what I had, after about 3 years, that man died. I would have been widowed.
Mm-hmm.
And now probably would have been left with a child or two. And I'm still under 20.
Mm.
So what do I do? Where do I go? How do I then move from that point? How do I even think that I would find another man to marry me
Right.
when I've got no means or resources to look after myself or the kids? And in some families, some of the brothers will just come and take you. So probably if he had many brothers, one of the brothers would have just chosen to say, I want this one, and then come take you, and you become his wife again. It's like your property. It's like you you can't have anything for yourself. You are somebody's property, or that family's property. it,
Mm.
it doesn't work well. Those are real challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real.
Yeah.
Absolutely real. And then, yeah, I mean, the money and everything, and not having any means to
Any
generate
means,
anything,
yes.
nothing. Completely. Yeah.
And there's the mortality rate. A lot of young girls, they die during childbirth,
Mm-hmm.
and the children, the babies too, they die. So those are real challenges that are facing other people, and probably it's difficult to relate. That's why people complain about things that are not, that they can do without.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath. Um, so, so you're in Alberta, Canada, which is just like from Chicago is up west. How did you end up there?
So I am living in the UK. I met someone I went to school with, and I thought, you know what? So when I say this, I am also thinking about what they say about not compromising your standards, not compromising, no matter what people say. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm too critical, maybe I am, because everybody tended to say, oh, you are too fussy, oh, you are too picky, you are too this. It's okay to be fussy, it's okay
Mm.
to be picky, because those are your standards. This is what determines what makes you happy and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I let my guard down, and I ended up in a relationship which was not good for me at all.
Mm.
And so from moving from the UK, coming to a foreign country, I don't know anything. I don't know anywhere, and I am with someone who is not showing me around.
Mm-hmm.
But also the treatment is so bad. There's a lot of cheating. There is a lot of abuse of alcohol, which, even though I'd worked in mental health, I'd only worked with people briefly when I did maybe agency work, a shift here or shift there. I had
Mm-hmm.
not really um, encountered or understood how alcoholism works. And then I find myself in that situation. There's all these things going on. There's alcohol, there's women, there's this. It's like, oh my God, what have I done? And
Unknowingly.
sorry?
Unknowingly.
Yes, unknowingly. So
Mhm.
I look at that situation and I think maybe God wanted me to learn something. Maybe this is part of my journey of what I'm being trained to do, trained to understand. I don't know. But this situation right here is not working for me.
Mhm.
I, when I was growing up, I didn't see any fights within the family. I didn't see any arguing. I didn't have even vocabularies that people use in arguing because it's not something that I was exposed to. And
Mhm.
then to find myself being either defending myself or arguing all the time, I just thought, no, 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 this is not right.
Mhm.
And um, I also think that when somebody is in a situation like that, they need to think to listen to the people that they that know them best. So one day I was talking to my sister who's in the UK, and I said something, and she goes, "Jesus, sis, I've never heard you speak like that. What is going on?"
Mhm.
And then I was like, I am changing because of my environment, and I don't like it.
Mhm.
So I sat down and I thought, how do I work with this situation right here? I realized that I didn't want to be part of that and I didn't want to waste any more of my time with this person. So on a day where he was not in a bad mood or whatever, I asked him to sit down. I said, "Come here, my friend, let's sit down, let's talk." And so we sat down. He said, "Oh, so what do you want to talk about?" In this kind of panicky and jittery, I said, "You have these three women that you talk to often. And let me help you choose which one you need to go with." He goes, "What? Are you crazy?" I said, "No, I'm not." He goes, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "There's nothing wrong with me. But we need to be objective. It's not about fighting all the time. It's about realizing and accepting that I'm not fitting into this, whatever it is. It's not a
Mhm.
fit,
Mhm.
you know. So if it's not a fit, why are we forcing it? It is not a fit. So instead of you destroying yourself and I destroying myself or destroy each other in the process, let's be objective about it. The reason why I'm asking you to go with this one is because I've identified, as I have seen you talk to them, I've identified these characteristics and I think you'll get on well. With this one, I think you need to stop doing what you're doing because she's vulnerable. It's not going to end up well for her.
Mhm.
You need to stop doing that to this one. And that one too. You need to go with this one. And guess what? That's where he ended up going. So
Mhm.
things get sorted out when you look at the situation and be practical about things and be objective too.
So you are truly a powerful woman.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, that's intense. I mean, so then, so you were in UK with him, and then you came to
No,
Alberta, or you came with him
I
here?
came to him.
Oh, okay. So he was here, there in
Yeah.
Alberta. Okay. All right. So now, okay. So you've handled that situation too. Very, very, very good. And so now you're doing what? You're working in mental health at the same time. You have your, for a better word, side project that you're doing your
Mhm.
passion. Is that the picture? Or whoops, my apology.
Okay. So when I came here, when you're new to the country and things are not you're not regulated, I couldn't just sit because we're in the UK. I was working my job. I was doing quite a lot, including writing and stuff. So I was always busy. And then when you're in a new country, you need to wait for everything to be regulated so that you can work.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just sitting waiting for that process, I decided to start compiling. So that way I am working with people. I'm compiling stories. I'm also healing, because when you heal through writing, it's not a one-off. You've got so many stories that you have encountered in your life. As you unpack them with each chapter you share, you're taking off the layers, whether it's a layer of a wet blanket or whether it's a layer of an onion, but you feel lighter each time you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I was in that situation, though, I started compiling.
Okay.
And I did work a little bit in mental health, and I volunteered at the crisis center, to help people who were in a crisis and take phone calls and de-escalate, or whatever you may call it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that their situation is, at least they are able to deal with the crisis at the moment and work on their challenges at another time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay, so let me just see that I understand. Are you working now, or you're doing your passion? This show is full time.
I'm doing my passion. I'm compiling. I'm doing the shows, and I do other online businesses. I sell on Amazon, and I also uh, work with a research company which collects data.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and it's like a multi-level company.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm enjoying that.
Good. So you have generating income. That's good,
Yeah.
and able to make ends meet there. That's great, and it's beautiful scenery there.
Oh yes. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So how many years have you been there in Alberta?
Since 2000, I came in 2015, so like 5 years.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
5 years already. Wow. Amazing. So what do you like to do? I mean, when you're not compiling stories and working, you go out and I don't know. Are you a hiker? You like to ride bikes? You take strolls? I mean,
Riding, but I like to walk. I love driving. And another thing I get so excited when I'm going to fly, when I'm going to be on the plane. I don't know what that's about, but if it's a trip where I'm having to fly, oh, I just get so excited. I absolutely love it. I love the watching the city, whether it's day or night, to see all the lights and
mm,
all that experience. I absolutely love it.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's perspective. Always is. I always remember the first couple of times that I flew too. It was kind of like, where you see these little kids, they're on the bus sometimes, or they always stand up on the seat and they turn
Yeah.
around and they look at the people, right? It's like,
That's exactly. So that would be what would be happening to me. They like, can you see I'm here? I just love it. I enjoy it.
oh, we're all little kids in big bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, and are you an avid reader also?
I do read.
Hmm.
Yes, I do read. And also the process of working with my co-authors, I obviously read their story, and we get together, and I normally find that when they send me their first draft, I don't know whether it's intuition, but I would feel that there's something missing. I would feel that there's a gap somewhere.
Hmm.
And then usually when we talk with most people, or with everyone, including myself, when I wrote my first draft, there were certain things that I held back. I did not want to talk about them. But when I spoke to the person who was compiling, and we had that discussion, and she asked me several questions, when I went back to do the second draft and the third draft, what I came up with was amazing,
Hmm.
but also that was how I ended up facing those situations, or that part where I didn't want to go because it was too painful.
Hmm.
And I noticed that when I write, and this is the feedback I get from my co-authors as well, that when they started writing, they cried. And it is that when that happens, they are now shedding off the old skin. They are
Hmm.
now accepting that this here was a soul which needed to heal.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
so you're working with people, not just, is it men and women?
Men and women, yes.
Yeah. So then they start to they send you a draft, a first draft of
Yes.
a chapter of their story, right?
Hmm.
Their book, whatever you want to call it, and then you're helping to edit and fill in and asking questions like this. There's an empty spot right here.
Yes.
So you go there with them, or you try to
Yes.
get them to go there. I guess it was the, and
Or
then.
sometimes we go together as we are talking, you know, we brainstorm, we discuss until they sometimes somebody will say, "Oh my goodness, I got it. I got it." Or they might not say much, but when they bring their a second or third draft, they're like, "Oh my God, yes, I feel it. I feel that I feel lighter after sharing this part. I feel
Mhm,
lighter after
mhm.
talking about this." And this time round, I've been so fortunate to work with an editor who is also a healer, in the sense that I feel that as humans we have certain qualities that we cannot. You can't say I am a healer, but you have that gift. You cannot put your hand or your finger to it, but
Mhm,
you know that this person, the way they approach things, the way they deal with the way they. So I work with a lady called Brenda, and sometimes when I have talked to my co-author or to a co-author, and I'm failing to get something, working with my editor now, we have this discussion, and when we agree that there is something missing, then the two of us invite our our co-author,
mhm,
and we have a session with, and I'm bringing my own strength, Brenda is bringing their own strength, and our co-author is receiving something of value,
mhm,
different perspectives.
mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a process. So it's like you're taking people, walking them through, and allowing them to let go,
Mm. Yes.
to release, to
Yes.
acknowledge, to accept, and yeah. So getting it out is probably the painful part. But then when it's
Yes.
that it's out, and then being heard by not just one but a couple of people, I'm sure does help to facilitate that healing process. That's great.
Yes, and I also enjoy that process, especially when it's just not my views only, but there is also someone who, you know, who who is also having a different perspective. When the three of us discuss, the feedback that I normally get is they our co-authors are quite grateful that they managed to have that session where they talked about things, and they were nudged to go where they were
Mhm,
avoiding to go.
mhm. Amazing. And these are people from all over the world?
All over the world, as long as they are willing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I understand. I was able to work with people for many, many years in a environment where they were allowed to to share what was going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
for the purposes of telling the truth,
Mm.
to get the, what was really going on, and the things that they had repressed. And then once they were just able to voice what they said, there was, it was like magic, because people, in a matter of minutes, literally.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and of course, I mean, it would that would be like the opening of the jar, right? The lid being taken off.
And the
And
pressure is out.
yeah, and there was still some processing going on after that. However, the the intensity of it had gone down
Mm-hmm.
so much that they were then strong enough to continue to
Yes.
release it, and at some point, even some people that had been through some terrible things, they were able to laugh about it. Like,
Mm.
that was crazy, you know. And
It's an amazing space to be in, when you witness that.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Wow. So where do you see all this going in the next, I guess, to say, year or 2 years, 3 years? You continuing on, or you have big dreams?
So I've just started, maybe in the past 2 weeks, to do a program like this where I interview people and address real life issues in our community, or during, say, the breast cancer month. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was my first video. I spoke to a lady who had who is a breast cancer survivor, and so my aim is to inform and to empower.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I have a podcast. My podcast is called Salve, basically coming from, um, salve is a lavender oil which is used for healing, and then solve,
Yeah.
all in the same, in the same category, helping people solve their problems or solve their issues or whatever is making them feel the pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I see that it's getting a very positive feed. I'm getting positive feedback, and I'm actually getting phone calls from people who are saying, "Wow, I watched your program or the video that you interviewed so and so. I'm going through the same challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and or I went through the same challenges. I'm just hoping more and more people in our culture get to." I'll give an example. So one of the programs I talked about, I invited a woman who is a widow.
Mm-hmm.
She lost her husband about 20 years ago, but she was talking about how she was treated by the in-laws when she lost her husband. And this is something that is still an eyesore in our culture. It's getting better, but it still happens that when a woman loses her husband, the brothers and the sisters on that day, on that same day, they cut all ties. They want to cut all ties with her. They don't see her as family anymore, and they want to take everything they've worked for, basically leaving her homeless. And it's a terrible thing for somebody to have to go to court to fight for something that you have worked with your husband,
Mm-hmm.
just because the in-laws have gotten greedy.
I mean, and this is happening in which countries?
It happened in Zimbabwe a long time ago, and I think it still happens in many countries. And so yesterday I had a call from a lady who said, "I watched your program, and even though you were making reference to a story that happened in Zimbabwe, I lost my husband here in Alberta uh, about a few years ago, and his brother came to the funeral parlor. No, 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 came to the hospice before he died,
Okay.
and told me that he's going to be gone in a few hours. So there's nothing for you here. Can you leave?" I could not believe it. I could not believe it, which means that this is an area that needs a lot of discussion,
Mhm.
so that the relatives of the husbands are aware that even if they consider doing something like that, it's shameful and unacceptable to just being cruel like that.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
basically using this woman as a slave. After your relative is gone, you take everything from her, leave here with nothing. Why should she go to court to fight for what she has worked for all these years?
Mhm.
And she has the trauma of losing her husband. Now you're giving her more trauma by telling her that she has nothing. So there's work to be done. So
Yeah,
this,
there's lots of work there for sure.
yeah, this is what makes me realize that I think I'm on the right path,
Yeah.
and I'll continue to do that and do the programs and do the podcasts.
Mhm.
And in the next 5 years, I think it's gonna explode.
Mhm. Well, there certainly is no shortage, sounds like.
Mm.
And yeah, as I'm reading the thread over here, Angela is watching. Thank you, Angela, for being here with us. She says, yeah, human and sex slavery is happening in every country. We don't see
Mm.
it openly. Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that. It was, one of the, everybody knows right now is like we're voting for a president tomorrow, and this particular topic isn't even brought up at all. There's not. I mean, does that happen in
Yes.
the United States? It is. I just saw something last week where there was some, I don't know, it wasn't FBI, but some undercover agency had uncovered this whole ring of things going on that were keeping people captive here.
Wow.
You
Wow.
even think of this in this country, like this is the United States, but it's you know the Democrats versus the Republicans and all the same issues, but there's never any like deep rooted,
Real
such as what
issues.
you're going through, issues like this that are brought up to the surface. So
Mm.
it is crazy. It's just like, wow. So what you're doing is really truly amazing, and I just want to say I honor that.
Thank you.
You certainly have chosen the right path for yourself, and I think that that's honorable that you took a stand with your situation in life and with yourself. And I think that resolving that inner conflict, like running
Mm.
away, oh my gosh, how how much conflicting like thoughts were going on to have to finally make that decision to do what you knew was right,
Mm.
and then to follow through with it. But and then and the same thing with leaving this guy that you were with. So, and I've been through 2 divorces. It's not easy. I understand that.
Not easy.
It's not easy. So yeah, wow, incredible. So I'll go to the question that I also like to ask: can you cook?
Can I cook?
Yeah, are you a good cook?
Oh yes, I love cooking. Especially when I'm entertaining. I go all out. I love to cook. Yes, I enjoy
Don't
that.
say your address loud because you'll have a line out the door.
Oh yes, I will be sending you my address as soon as this thing goes off and we are all allowed to travel. Come and eat.
Yeah, I'm a good cook, and I love to be the sous chef. I'll chop, I'll clean, I'll do anything, I'll serve.
Ah,
You tell me what to do, I'm there in the kitchen, right there.
that is fantastic.
Oh, that's
That
great.
is fantastic.
Wow. Well, okay, so you have to come back, and
Mhm.
I would love to do this again, and maybe get a little bit more in depth on certain areas. I've already got some thoughts in my mind. So please come back and
Sure.
share some more with us.
For sure. You just drop me a message and say, hey, what does this day look like for you? And I'll
Yeah.
check my calendar and see if it works, and then we can. And it is these platforms that we help other people. So how I see it is, even though this might seem like just a discussion between you and me, there is someone somewhere who has been listening or watching us talking about different situations that I have been through. And right now, whether they are a man or a woman, they are sitting in a relationship that is not working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Instead of just being angry, sit down and look at what it was that you wanted in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And your checklist in the beginning was right. There was nothing wrong with it. Just check it again. And if out of 10, 5, 4, 5 are terribly bad,
Mm-hmm.
it means that the quality of your life is not where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects your creativity, it affects your psychology, it affects you physically, and then eventually you end up not achieving anything. And time is moving.
Mm-hmm. Time is
Yeah.
moving. Yeah. That's the truth. You can't escape that, and it's going. I mean,
Mhm.
my second wife was amazing. She is a registered nurse, now a practitioner, and she would
Mhm.
work these shifts. And she would come home from the hospice, and one day, she'd come home and she's like, "I figured it out," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" No, I figured it out. I figured it out. She was all excited. She couldn't even get it out of her mouth because she would come home with these stories. And, one story would be, "Oh, I met the sweetest woman today. Her husband brought her flowers and he would cross pollinate these flowers and all this stuff. And they were in her room." And then she would come home another day. "I met this guy. He was so mean. He was screaming, 'Where's my medications?'"
Oh.
And, we've heard all the stories, right?
Mhm.
And she goes, she's like, "I figured it out. Like, why are these people, some of them, so angry when they're in the last few, weeks, months of their life?" And I'm like, "Why?" She says, "Because they had the opportunity. They had the
And
chance
they didn't.
and they didn't do it, whatever that may have been for themselves, right?" And
Mm.
now it's like the leg is falling off, or, they're sick and they can't get out of bed. And you know what I mean?
Yes,
So it's
you
this,
got it.
it's the big R, the big regret.
Yeah.
And that's what I think what you're doing now is giving people that opportunity to begin a new path so that they can
Mm.
avoid this, or, as much as possible, these things, right? Seeing,
Mhm.
so you're awesome.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Amazing. And yeah, I mean, so what we're doing here in this platform is giving people the opportunity to share about their passion and what they're doing. So thank you for being willing to do that. Thank you to Angela for nominating you and giving you that opportunity. I like to ask, my final question is about, if you, let's pretend that we have the attention of every human being on the planet is watching this right now. 7.8 billion people are
Mhm.
watching this show. What would you say to humanity if you have everybody's attention?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I want to thank Angela for giving me the opportunity and inviting me to this platform and to nominating me. If I was given the opportunity to be speaking to humanity, I have it. So it's not an if, I have it right now. They're there, they're listening. This life that we're living, it's not a rehearsal. It's not as if someone will come and say, okay, Dominic, you've done your 15 hours of practice or your 15 years or 20 years of practice, and now this is it. Your life begins now. Your life began the day you were born, and you get one shot at it, and you're getting it now. And so if you're living as though you are in a rehearsal and you will get a moment to then do it right, you're actually missing the point. It is happening now. Whether when you look at yourself in the mirror right now and it's okay or it's nasty, this is it. Whatever you've got, because you don't know whether tomorrow you're going to be there or you are not. So do not waste your time. Follow your passion. If you don't know how to follow it yourself, connect with people who can help you. Be part of a network with like-minded people. If that is difficult for you, invest in a life coach, invest in counseling if that is what you need. But just remember, this ain't a rehearsal. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try and not try. Try is not good. Let's do it.
Do it.
Let's work on our goals. Let's be interested in life, because it would be such a bad thing to be then lying in your bed and the doctors have now told you that there's nothing they can do for you. And you remember all the opportunities that you have missed. But
Mm-hmm.
also remember, you cannot be your best. You cannot be living your best life if you're only focused on hurting another human being, because I am you and you are me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hurt someone, you're hurting yourself. Thank you.
That was beautiful. I'm inspired. Completely and totally inspired. Wow. Beautifully said. Those are like the words of wisdom, and there's nothing to add to it. You know, it's just that's it. It's now. It's all happening right now. Uh-oh. I forgot to shut my other alarm off. It says drink some water. My reminder, stay hydrated.
A big reminder to drink water. I think I need something like that.
Yeah. When it came up on my phone, it's like, do you want to set a reminder? And I'm like, what is that for? Oh, like 6 times a day or 7 times a day, I could set this reminder. So it's like, I didn't tell my wife about it. She's like, she heard it go off a couple weeks ago, and she's like, what? What did she say? And I said, drink some water. She goes, oh, that's a good idea.
It's a good one.
You can set them now on the phone. I mean, it's so amazing, the technology. So
Yeah.
anyway, okay. Well, I'll let you go finish your day. Thank you, Monica, so much for being with me today, and so much appreciated. Yeah, we'll have you back, and everything will be good. So to all of you out there watching or listening, send all your hearts and hugs and all that stuff and share it out there to support Monica and what she's doing. So, all right, we'll see you then next time. Have yourself a wonderful day. I'll copy the audio link for the podcast and also post it here, so then you could also share that out.
Fantastic. It's been amazing spending time with you, Dominic. Thank